The tragic case of Ayşe Paşalı, a battle against injustice and domestic violence. On October 1, 1993, in Hizan, Bitlis, Turkey, Ayşe Paşalı was born into a world of hope and promise. A Kurdish woman with bright aspirations, she eventually married Istiqbal Yetkin in 1998 and became the mother of 3 children. However, behind the facade of a family life lay a nightmare of incessant abuse. Throughout their marriage, Ayşe suffered relentless domestic violence at the hands of her husband. In March 2009, the abuse escalated to a horrifying climax. She was brutally beaten nearly to death and subjected to sexual assault. Despite the gravity of these crimes, when charged with rape, she was controversially released pending trial, a decision that would later haunt the nation. By June 2010, after enduring months of unrelenting violence, Ayşe and Istiqbal had formally divorced. Yet the terror was far from over. Merely 2 months after the dissolution of their marriage, on December 7, 2010, Istiqbal Yetkin returned with a fury that could not be contained. In Ankara, away from the public eye, he dragged his ex-wife to a secluded area. Under the guise of reconciliation, he used the moment to unleash a lethal rage. He repeatedly stabbed her with a knife, leaving her mortally wounded. Eyewitnesses later recalled that he threatened her with death before executing the final brutal act. In the immediate aftermath of the murder, the grim reality began to surface. Ayşe's body was discovered, and the gruesome details sent shockwaves across the nation. Cemal Metin Avci, a man with a troubled past and no familial ties to Ayşe, was quickly apprehended. Although Avci claimed that a moment of unjust provocation during an argument had driven him to commit the act, the evidence told a far darker story. Investigations revealed that prior to the murder, Avci had been relentlessly stalking Ayşe, following her every move, bombarding her with messages, and even visiting her home after their initial meeting in a bar. According to court records, on that fateful December day, after confronting Ayşe and forcing her to submit, Avci strangled her. In a calculated move to obliterate any trace of his crime, he purchased a bottle of gasoline from a local station and drove to a remote forested area in Mentees. There, in a cold and premeditated effort to cover his tracks, he set her body ablaze while she was still alive, then encased the remains in concrete. The brutality of his method, intended to both destroy evidence and silence any lingering hope of justice, sent a chill through every corner of Turkish society. As the investigation unfolded, public sentiment reached a boiling point. Ayşe's case rapidly evolved into a symbol of the endemic violence against women in Turkey. In court, Istiqbal Yetkin was charged with premeditated murder. In a landmark decision, the Ankara First Heavy Penal Court sentenced him to aggravated life imprisonment. However, controversy soon erupted when his sentence was reduced to 23 years on the grounds of unjust provocation. This legal twist, which marked the first time an ex-husband was given such a sentence in a case with no blood relation, ignited fierce debates across the country. Critics argued that the reduction in sentence not only trivialized the sheer brutality of the crime, but also sent a dangerous message regarding the protection of women. In a separate and prolonged legal process, Ayşe's family, backed by their legal team led by attorney Rezan Epozdemir, took their case to the European Court of Human Rights. After a 9-year struggle, the Turkish government, acknowledging its failure to protect Ayşe from domestic abuse, offered a joint settlement of €50,000 to her family, a decision that, while offering some solace, could never compensate for the irreversible loss. The horrific details of Ayşe Paşalı's murder spurred an unprecedented wave of public protest. Almost immediately following the crime, the hashtag Kadın Cinayetlerin İsyandayız, we are revolting against femicide, trended on social media. Women across Turkey, emboldened by the solidarity of international celebrities such as Jennifer Aniston, Kerry Washington, Jennifer Garner, and Eva Longoria, organized night vigils and protests in 14 different provinces. For days on end, women stood in solidarity, holding 7 to 24-hour vigil as they demanded accountability and systemic reform. Political leaders did not remain silent. On July 22, 2020, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan took to Twitter, asserting that Ayşe Paşalı's killer would receive the harshest possible penalty, and vowing that the state would take decisive action to prevent such atrocities in the future. High-ranking officials from the Ministry of Family, Labor and Social Services, as well as mayors from major Turkish cities like Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir, echoed these sentiments in their public statements. Yet the case also exposed systemic failures. A press release from the Muğla Public Prosecutor's Office emphasized that while the investigation was being conducted with utmost diligence, certain media outlets had distorted facts, most notably the false claim that Ayşe had been burned alive. Official forensic reports from the Istanbul Forensic Medicine Institute and Adnan Menderes University unequivocally confirmed that she had been incinerated after death, dispelling the sensationalized narratives. The international community to rally for lasting change. The tragic murder of Ayşe Paşalı remains a haunting reminder of the pervasive violence against women in Turkey. Her story, marked by unbearable suffering and the subsequent struggle for justice, has become a rallying cry for activists across the globe. Even as her family continues to seek full accountability for the systemic failures that allowed such a crime to occur, her legacy endures, an enduring symbol of the fight against domestic violence and the urgent need for societal change. Her memory calls on all of us to ask, how many more must suffer before true justice prevails? Until that day comes, Ayşe Paşalı's story will serve as a powerful reminder that every woman deserves to live free from fear, exploitation, and violence.